Bonsuelo, mathletes. Okay, here we go. All right. There's two things here that you need to realize. One is what's the main idea if you want. It's not anything new. It's multiply and get rid of fractions. Been telling you to do that since like about the first day of school, maybe the second day. Okay? Remember, there's no such thing as, pardon the vulgar language, cross multiplication. Okay? But you know what? I already expect you know how to do that. Okay, then what's really the thing I want to, what's the other thing? And it's the thing I want to emphasize, and it's this, and I can't really emphasize it enough. Okay, you must check your answers. You can do everything correct, but still get something that doesn't work. Okay, why? Because your answer can't make a denominator become zero. Okay, so I want to point out something. We've solved equations before that you can do everything correct, but it just doesn't work. For example, absolute value equations back in the first semester. You can do everything correctly. You can write the two statements correctly, but sometimes the answers just don't work. Same thing here. You can do everything correctly, but you have to check your answer to make sure it doesn't make a denominator zero. You don't necessarily have to, if you do everything correct, you don't have to, plug it in and make sure everything works. You're really just looking, does the denominator become zero? So kind of the first thing you want to do is say what the denominator can't be. So let's do that first. So let's take a look at number one. What can the denominator not be? Well, remember, the denominator can't be zero. So x plus 15 can't be zero. Therefore, what do we know? X cannot be negative 15. So when we're all done here, if x comes up to be negative 15, you throw it out. Okay, so keep that in mind. So what's the denominator? Well, the denominator here is 1. So what's the common denominator? If I was going to add all this together, it would be x plus 15. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x plus 15. Okay? So what happens on the left-hand side? The x plus 15s cancel, and you get x plus 3. And what happens on the right-hand side? It just gets 7 times x plus 15. And now just solve it. And when you're all done, you just have to make sure that your denominator wouldn't become zero. In other words, that you don't get a value of negative 15. So we get 7x plus, what will that be? 70 and 35 is 105. And then I'll bring the x over to the side with a 7x. That gives me 6x. I'll subtract the 105. That gives me negative 102. And x equals negative 102 over 6. Now you should simplify that fraction. So that would give me negative 51, if I divide top and bottom by 2, over 3. And if I simplify that, we just get negative 17. Okay? Is negative 17 make any denominator become zero? No. So we're okay. So this is your answer. X is negative 17. Okay, let's take a look at this. Well, first of all, to find the common denominator, we'd want to factor out the 4. So now, what can k not be? K cannot be 2. So if k comes up to be 2, we have to throw it out. Okay, what's the common denominator? 4 times k minus 2. And at this point, you should know how to find the common denominator. Okay? So if we multiply that, and I'm going to multiply that on both sides, on the first fraction, the whole denominator goes away, and you're left with 8. On the second term, the negative 1, you just get 4 times k minus 2. And on the third, the right-hand side, the k minus 2's cancel, so you get 8. So we get 8 minus 4k plus 8 equals 8. So we get 16 minus 4k equals 8. Negative 4k equals -8 and k equals 2. But what happens? K can't be -2. So we have to cross that off, and there's nothing left. So there is nothing that will make this statement true. Okay? That's all this served the purpose of doing. This k is not 2, is telling us what we have to throw out. Because notice, k being 2 would make these denominators become 0. And all it has to do is make one of the denominators become 0. Okay, let's take a look at number 3 here. Let's factor the denominator, and we get x minus 2 times x plus 1. And this one we get x plus 5 times x minus 2. Okay, so what can the denominator not be? Or what can x not be? X can't be 2, -1, or -5. Because that any one of 2 would make this denominator become 0, -1 would make that become 0, and -5 would make that become 0. And of course, 2 would make this one become 0 also. So remember, a denominator cannot be 0. So let's multiply. And what are we going to multiply by? The common denominator, which is x minus 2, x plus 1, and x plus 5. And normally I would write that on both sides of the equation, because we are multiplying each side of the equation by that, but it just would be a lot of writing, so I'm just going to put it in the middle. So what happens on the left-hand side? The x minus 2's cancel, and the x plus 1's cancel, so we get 35 times x plus 5. And what happens on the right-hand side? The x plus 5's cancel, the x minus 2's cancel, so we have 11 times x plus 1. So we get 35x plus, and what's that, 150 and 25 is 175. Oh, I don't know why it was doing that. 175 equals 11x plus 11. So I'll bring the 11x to this side, and we'll get 24x equals, and I'll bring the 175, I'll subtract the 175, and we get negative 164. And then we'll divide both sides by 24. Okay, so that would give me what, 82 over 12, which I can reduce more to 41 over 6. Okay. So now we have to check. Is that 2, -1, or -5? No, so we're okay. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Again, remember, there's no cross multiplication here. You don't even want to think about it. It would make your life so miserable in these problems. Okay, so this is x minus 5 times x plus 3. This denominator would be x minus 5 times x plus 1. So what can x not be here? X can't be 5, -3, and -1. Fine, so what's common denominator? X minus 5, x plus 3, and x plus 1. Okay, so on the left-hand side, the x minus 5's cancel, the x plus 3's cancel, so you end up with the original x plus 7 times the remaining x plus 1. Okay, on the right-hand side, you have the x minus 4, and now the x minus 5's cancel, the x plus 1's cancel, so you have the x plus 3's left over. And now we'll multiply this out. X squared plus 8x plus 7 equals x squared minus x minus 12. Okay, so the x squareds subtract. They go away. So I'll bring the negative x over to the left-hand side, and that gives us 9x. I'll bring the 7 over to the right-hand side. That gives us negative 19, and x equals negative 19/9. Okay, now let's check it. Is that 5, -3, or -1? No, so we're good. So the main thing here is getting rid of fractions. Okay, that's if you don't get rid of fractions, you're not going to be solving this correctly. But quite frankly, the new thing, which is the thing you really have to be careful of to remember, is that you must always check your answers to make sure that doesn't make a denominator become 0, like it did in problem number 2 here. Okay, other than that, that's it. So I hope that helps, and see you next time.